Hi there, my name is Suze and I work with women to help them heal and integrate their inner masculine and feminine energies so that they can have lives that feel really emotionally fulfilling and satisfying. Today's video is going to be a little bit brief. It's kind of going back into a woman that I was working with. She was an amazing coach who I worked with. I actually went back and worked with her a few different times. And her whole thing was on relationships, men and women, and understanding men at a really deep level of how they function differently than women do. And I mean, that may sound pretty obvious. And for a lot of us, I think we've had a lot of life experience and different kinds of relationships where we, on the surface level, we understand that men and women are very different. In how they function and how they look at life and how they react or respond to things. We're very different. And we know that. But I think we don't quite fully recognize to what depth or understand the intricacies of how men and women are different. And so on that note, today's video will probably be a little bit brief today because I just want to plant a seed of awareness. And this is something actually that came up in client calls this week as well. So I feel like it's something being brought forward energetically with the Feminine Collective at this time. So I want to get into it for a hot minute. But it's the idea of, it's really so simple too. What if in the moment that you're observing the guy that you're in relationship with, what if he's doing something and maybe you don't like it, or maybe you would prefer that he was doing or not doing something differently, or there's a part of you inside that's telling you something's wrong here, or maybe some anxiety and fear of the future is coming up here, or maybe something you've experienced in the past, an end result of something you experienced in the past, you're afraid that whatever the man is doing or not doing in this current moment is going to lead to this destination where you have been before in the past with him or someone else, and you don't want to go there again. Or maybe you're stuck in cycles, right? And you keep finding yourself coming back around, like banging your head against the wall around how a dynamic is seeming to play out, and maybe cycles or patterns are starting to develop in your relationship with an external masculine, and you're really trying to find your way out of it. And one really, really simple, like this is like baby step number one of finding your way out of these kinds of really discouraging, that's the word coming through, discouraging cycles, finding yourself at a constant place of discouragement in your partnership, in your relationship with an external masculine. What if we start asking ourselves, what if he's not doing anything wrong? And that may seem kind of crazy, but just sit tight with me for a hot second. If we start asking ourselves, what is energetically happening in ourselves when we start asking that? If you're asking, what if he's not actually doing anything wrong? You're creating an opening in your energy, in your mind, in your heart. You're creating an opening to understanding something from someone else's point of view, or someone else's life experience that has maybe made them, shaped them into the particular way that they're in, or someone else's belief system that has created this behavior or identity that they are currently functioning in at this place. It's creating more compassion as well. And it's opening your mind, a more open mind and more open heart, which is then creating a curiosity, feminine, key feminine word, creating curiosity to potentially seeing a situation in another way that maybe you haven't experienced or haven't seen it before. And so what if we start there with something's happening in this dynamic partnership with an external masculine, and you notice your mind starts going into, well, I don't like this, and well, what if he does this, and then or negative thinking or negative beliefs, perception of why he's doing or not doing the particular thing, and there's a negative association with whatever is happening, a limiting negative association of like, this is what he always does, or men always do this, or men this, or see, this is what always happens to me with men. any kind of those kinds of thoughts, noticing when they come up and then coming back into a space of, first of all, what if he's not actually doing anything wrong? And then taking that energetic shift, once you've allowed yourself to really sink into that opening, that compassion, that feminine exploration, the feminine curiosity to really get to the root of the matter, you bring that energy, that attitude to the table. And even preface the communication with him if you decide to communicate. Preface the communication by simply saying, I don't think you're not doing anything wrong, but I want to understand why you're doing this or not doing this particular thing. And letting him know you're looking for information, you're looking for clarity, you're looking to draw out from him understanding of why he's doing or not doing the thing that he's doing. And giving them the space of, I don't think you're doing anything wrong. I'm just trying to understand you more deeply. Isn't that really at the core what we all want in relationships? We all want to feel really understood. We want to be recognized when we are trying hard. We want to be recognized when we are putting an effort in. And we want to be understood and not misunderstood. You know, there was someone that I was following for a while there on Instagram a few years ago. And his whole thing, he was a masculine feminine energy healer and coach. And his whole thing was about that, about like relationships, and because there's misunderstanding. There's always some level of misunderstanding. And if it goes further enough down that path of misunderstanding without correction, the relationship ends. And I really think there is a lot of validity to that thought process. You know, at the end of the day, we all want to feel understood and recognized and appreciated, seen for who we truly are, seen for our efforts in trying, seen for working really hard and creating the life that we want, and the efforts we do take to create the life that we want, to have emotional fulfillment as the feminine wants. So can we start, first of all, by slowing ourselves down? And this is anxiety too. This is a lot of helping with that anxiety that I constantly talk about, and the anxious attachment and that negative energy, and helping women heal that and work with that energy in a more appropriate way rather than sabotaging the self or sabotaging the relationship. And a lot of times we're sabotaging the relationship without even knowing it. And a really quick way to start, just to start, to find your way out of that, is when you get triggered by some behavior or word choice that he had or attitude or something that he is or is not doing in your relationship, to simply start asking yourself, what if he's not doing anything wrong? And what do I need to ask him to create deeper clarity and understanding about why he is or is not doing this particular thing? And this conversation can go much deeper. I do want to unravel this conversation further in more videos moving forward, because again, it goes back to what I said at the very beginning of this video. If women just really understood to what level men are different and how they perceive situations differently than women, and why they respond in the ways they respond that to us don't feel like the right response, but actually the reason why they did respond in the way that they did, if we understood them and men and masculine energy and how masculine energy functions in a healthy way, if we understood, we could perceive their actions or lack of action in a different way, and it would change the entire dynamic of our relationships. It would create so much emotional intimacy because there would be greater understanding. There would be an open heart and an open mind for curiosity, for compassion, about meeting in the middle, creating that collaboration I talk about all the time, creating that collaboration between the masculine and the feminine to create a relationship, a connection, a living, breathing connection and partnership that feels amazing, that feels miraculous, that feels mind-blowing, that feels almost like a fantasy. And don't take that in the wrong way, but it feels almost like a fantasy because women, the more women I talk to, when you get really honest with yourself, you know in your heart how you want your relationship to feel. And you do have this fantasy of like this relationship and this emotional connection. And it is possible. It is not just this fantasy, romancy kind of a thing. No, these dynamics are possible, but we have to understand the energetics behind it, the thing behind the thing. Understand the energetics behind it, and you have the keys to the kingdom of living a miraculous life, of having the fulfillment, of having the fantasy, of having the romantic life that your heart is calling you towards, but your head is telling you that it's unrealistic. And your head is shaming you in the fantasy of the unrealistic, of like, well, that doesn't really exist. What if it does? But we have to understand the entirety of the energies that are coming to the table and at play at any given moment in time, to then be able to work with, collaborate with the energies, meld them together to create the life, emotional type of life we're looking for as women, as feminines, as divine feminines. I'm going to leave the video here for today. I hope this helped. If you found value here, please do subscribe to my channel to help support my message, help get this out to other people who would appreciate it and would be very helpful for them on their journey, on their soul's path. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you guys on the next video.